Okay, there you go. Alexa, stop. What's the word? What's the word? How you guys doing? I'm tired. Jordan is making me do this live. I want y'all to know that. He over here trying to work me like a slave, like nothing else matters. I've been up all night trying to address his notes in the documentary, but for some reason, that just isn't enough for him. He would like me to go live today. And in addition to going live, he wants to pick the stories that I talk about. He sent me some stories to talk about. And he was like, yeah, just, choose. I was like, okay, that's cool. Chose a couple. I'm like, okay, I'll do this. He hit me back. Why are you not doing this one? So, because these are the ones I want to talk about. Well, do this one. I'm like, but I don't feel like it. So I want y'all to know he running a slave camp over here. He got me working. What time did I go to sleep last night? I went to sleep around, I think 10 this morning. My intention was to get like 2 hours of sleep, wake up, prepare for this, for the live, and then do the live, But I ended up waking up at 1:30 LA Pacific time, which is 4:30 your time. So I had like 30 minutes. So we pushed it back to 5:30. And then when he tried to change what I was going to talk about, have you ever just been thrown off by somebody? Just throw you off? And you just like, ugh. Well, he threw me off, so. Ugh. Anyway. Honestly, I've been so inundated by this documentary and everything. I haven't really been able to watch the news, look at I haven't even really been interested in looking at it because I've been kind of consumed with the footage of the Flint documentary, which is a lot of footage. What I wanted to do is, all of a sudden, I wanted to change the tone. I think I saw something. I was watching some documentaries for about a week straight, and I was like, I want to change the tone of it. So in order to change a tone of a thing, you actually almost have to restructure the entire thing, so especially a film. And, for the most part, documentaries take the longest time to get together. To, shoot, in addition to shoot post-production, which is the editing, sound design, and things like that. That takes even longer. Normally, I would say a year to a year and a half for a picture to be locked. I would say a year for a picture to be locked, and the picture being locked just means that you're not editing the picture anymore. You know what I mean? So the picture's locked, it's approved, all the edits were done. So then you got to go to sound design and credits and all that. And that take even more time. He's expecting me to do this in the span of a couple months. So, yeah. Slave labor. Did I say that already? So Jordan is texting me right now. Read super chats. Read super chats. Yes, massa. Yes, massa. There we go. Man, I'm tired. The grumpy part of being tired, I haven't got over that yet. So that's why I'm giving Jordan shit. Let's see. Jerry Ross. What's happening, Jerry? Who was that? Oh, we got some super chats. Shit, I do need to pay attention to this. Let's see. Where we at? What up, Jerry? This should be entertaining. I hope so. Shit. If there's a if if I start trolling Jordan, can I get as much attention as Jerry? Of course, of course. Jerry Ross. I've been knowing of Jerry. I don't know Jerry Ross, but I've been knowing of Jerry Ross since at least summer of 2017. Had to be at least summer of 2017. I started noticing when I was living with Jordan in New York. By the way, my neck has been hurting the past couple of days, so yeah, I've been knowing of him since summer 2017, and he has been relentless. He's actually kind of, sometimes he gets a little uh, aggressive, but for the most part, he's as playful as he is a troll. So I don't mind him. Um, let's see what we got. We got a couple donations. Status Quo donated. Is that what status? That's the status. Is it Status Quo that donated? I don't know. Somebody donated $20. It says Status Quo. Oh, Jordan. Oh, Ty, I asked you yesterday to do this live as I attend to some good humanitarian tasks today. Don't lie to the audience. I ain't lying. You asked me last night, but when I'm in the zone, I'm in the zone. That's what it is. If you guys don't know, when you're in a zone, when you're doing something, when you're like, your mind is going, the fuel is going, you got all these ideas, you're trying to get it together, you're like, God damn, let me get this. You don't want to stop because you don't want to lose that momentum. You don't want to lose that creativity. You just want to keep going. And all of a sudden someone says, by the way, can you do this? Last night asking me to do a live is last minute. So, whatever you want to say, Jordan, Let's see. Samantha, we appreciate you. 1999. I appreciate you, Ty. Do you? I appreciate you, too, as well. This is for you, not Jordan. That's funny. I appreciate you. Thank you. Ty went surfing. Do I look like I got a tan or something? Let me tell you. So you're going to give your life story or tell us the news? I'm going to give my life story, fool. That's part of the news. That's what I do. You do what you do. I do what I do. So, couple stories I want to talk about. But how was your, what's today, the 27th? So we're 2 days out of Christmas. I haven't talked to you. So how was your Christmas? Was everything good, bad, indifferent? I had a spirited debate with a cousin of mine about the LGBTQ community. For some reason, he feels that to some degree that the LGBTQ community is trying to manipulate, take over, or I don't know, steer the black community into whatever. So we had it was completely absurd. And unbeknownst to him, my son had just came out to me about a month back. So, I mean, even before that, I would have had the same argument. But even more so, I thought it was absurd. And for some reason, he didn't think that you can go online and find any information you want to find about any topic or opinion about something if that's what you wish to find. You know what I mean? So that's the reason why, some extreme progressives stay extreme and some extreme conservatives stay extreme because they're only inundated with their own information. You can always find things that support whatever it is you believe. And I think that was probably the highlight. Everything else was normal, good, enjoyed the family, but that was probably the highlight of uh, my Christmas day with my family. So there is a few things I want to talk about. Some of them kind of late because I didn't, I read about them and I didn't really get a chance to talk about them. And some of them are today's news. So one I want to talk about, obviously, I know you guys have heard, I think this happened maybe 5 days ago now, about the New Jersey student who was forced to cut his braids off and right as he started his match, which just to me, I don't want to be too dramatic with it, and kind of, but it really rubbed me the wrong way because I know my history and just the spectacle of the whole thing really rubbed me the wrong way. Him being in front of everyone and just having his hair cut, humiliated, in front of all his peers, in addition to the world, And that really bothered me. The more I look at it, the more it just mirrors things that bothers me, Mirrors, spectacle. Honestly, when I think of it, and I don't mean to be extreme, but whatever, when I saw that, and nothing near it, but definitely just the first thing that popped in my head was, the photos that you see of like public lynchings and everyone just kind of watching as this guy, this kid is humiliated, in front of his friends and his teammates and other teams. Let me just transition to that right quick.
The Johnson family's attorney now saying the ref, Alan Maloney, showed up late to the match, and when he did evaluate Andrew, he failed to raise any issues with the length of his hair or the need to wear a head covering. Johnson won, but that hasn't stopped the angry outpouring on social media. Chance the Rapper labeling the incident bogus, and Olympic wrestler Jordan Burroughs saying it's sickening.
In high school, as you grow and you develop and you're establishing who you are, you're creating an identity. I know as a young black man how much my hair meant to me.
New Jersey sports officials say they opened a civil rights investigation and have sidelined Maloney. A New Jersey paper reported that in 2016 he called a fellow ref a racial slur. Maloney later apologized and has not responded to our request for comment. Now his latest move, leading the community to wrestle with controversy. Matt Bradley, NBC News.
Yeah. So there it is. Let's see, how do I stop this shit? Were you guys able to, hopefully you were able to hear that, because I was looking at the volume. It seemed a little weird. Hopefully you were. Can't really hear the video. 90 seconds, okay. So couldn't hear it. It's not a race thing, it's a rule thing. Jerry, if it happened to be a rule thing, why is this the first time they brought it up? This kid has been going throughout his entire semester wrestling, and no one has brought it up. And all of a sudden, this guy brings it up, who has a past. I mean, if anything, what could you say? Okay, next time you can't come, or if your hair is this long, the next time we have a wrestling match, then maybe so. I guess at the beginning of every wrestling match, they have this I guess where the referee goes in and checks each wrestler to make sure everything is good, that they're within regulation to wrestle. That happens before when they come out to get ready to wrestle. And if that was the case, it would have happened then. This has been the entire argument on the news. Every clip that I've seen, that he had already been checked out and was good to go. Yeah, and it's understandable. I had to cut my hair when I wrestle. Actually, they do that. Actually, they do what? I'm not sure what you're referring to, but this is what they're saying. The kid had already wrestled the longest time, and no one had ever brought it up as an issue. That day, he had already been checked out by that referee and was good to go, was okay to wrestle. So all of a sudden, now this guy, for whatever reason, for whatever reason, right before his match, he decides to give this kid an ultimatum. Like, what, it's weird in my head. I remember, in my head, I'm thinking like, oh, if I was him, I would have just said fuck it and not wrestled and just went against the grain because it's my hair and because of what I stood for. And then I started thinking like, this is probably my disposition at 40. I remember when I was 16 years old and I was growing my hair out. Now I can't. But when I was 16, I was growing my hair. I was getting in a lot of trouble. And my hair was my everything. I was growing it out. I had cornrows. And I remember I was getting in trouble. I just got kicked out of school district for having a gun. And I don't know, my father was just sick and tired. I remember one morning, I was even as a kid, when my hair first started growing, I couldn't use a razor because I would get like razor bumps bad because my skin overhealed. So I always had to use clippers. And so I remember one morning I was using clippers and I was getting ready to go to this continuation school that they had me going to. And I remember my father was like, let me see your clippers. And he acted like he was just like he was examining them. And then he just quickly pushed the clippers against my hair and just like cut a large piece of hair out of my head and said, cut your hair. And I remember being so heartbroken by that. And I'm 16. At 16, I didn't look this good with a bald head. I looked like a weirdo. I barely had hair. Like, I looked like a weirdo. For one, I wasn't used to it. And, secondly, like, no, it wasn't a hairstyle, you know what I mean, at that time. So it was heartbreaking. It was my identity. It meant something. People knew who I was because of that. With this kid, I'm sure the same. Like he's he's a black kid that wrestles. The majority of black kids that wrestle, for the most part, it's probably like one or two are the only black person on the team. So his hair probably had a whole lot to do with his identity, which every kid, whether you black, white, or whatever, you look at their hairstyles, it really represents who they are and who they feel that what they feel that they stand for as, as a teenager, as a kid, you know what I mean? They're expressing themselves through their hair, through their haircuts, and all and things like that. And I could just imagine how devastating it was for him to have to wrestle with it. And you see the end of the video when the referee lifts the kid's hand up, and he just don't even want to touch the ref's hand, and he goes off, and it's devastating. It's demoralizing, and I really feel for the kid, and I'm pretty sure, if I was 16 now and I had a lot riding on wrestling, he's 16, so he's probably a junior. Like, he's thinking about college, what college he's gonna go to. That's probably dictated by his record. So, losing a match isn't an option. Walking off a match isn't an option for him because, as we know, as teenagers, we think single incidents can revolutionize the rest of your world. We make them so big as children, which they're not, but at that age, we think they are. And so we take that into consideration. Like, he was willing to do it. And I don't even know why they couldn't just take him in the back in the locker room and do it. They just did it right there in plain sight, you know, in front of everyone. It was crazy, you know. And yeah, I do think it's a racial issue. I think it has something to do with race. Rather, it was the having some leniency on it, saying, you know what, I don't want to see you out here with the hair no more. These are the rules. I'm gonna let it slide this time because I already checked you out. Or it's just overtly, I just don't like niggas. The referee had been accused, and he apologized for calling another referee a nigga at I guess some event, some referee officials event in 2016. So it's there. It's there. You can't deny that it's there. It's public record that it's there. You know what I mean? And guess what? When you squeeze orange juice comes out. Not apple juice, not mango juice, orange juice. Period. So if he get in a heated conversation with somebody and racial epithets come out, guess what? That's what's in him. And so he has a certain disposition about a certain group of people. And whether you like to hear it or not, whether you want to accept it or not, it doesn't matter. How you feel doesn't change the truth and the reality, period. And a lot of times, this is what happened in systemic racism. People use their authority to push forward their own agendas. Because I feel this certain way about people, I'm going to treat him like this. Where I may give another kid a pass, get it done, but I'm going to let this ride because you've been doing it all this time and I've already checked you out. No leniency. So, you know, I don't know what to say. That it just is what it is. It's the reality of it. And if you don't think that, you're blind. And it's not even that you're blind. It's that you don't recognize it because it doesn't happen to you. You anyone that says that, you know, racism isn't an issue or don't see it, you know, whatever, you know, are only looking through their own experiences, period, point blank. If you look through your own experiences, if you're fortunately being a white person in America, you don't have to deal with it. I remember at one point during the riots in 1992, Bush said, I didn't know that there was still racism in America, which was amazing for him to say that in 92. But, you know, if you're not around it and you don't have many black friends and you don't want to see it, you don't see it. You know what I mean? I'm forced to see it because I'm black. I'm forced to have to deal with it, whether overtly or under the rug. You know what I mean? Systemic racism exists. And racism in itself exists, you know. It doesn't control my life. It doesn't dictate my life. I don't allow it to, but it's there. And just because I can navigate around it and I can deal with it and I can address it doesn't mean that I need to act like it doesn't exist. And because I know how to deal with it, that other people don't experience it. That there's, whatever. I know how to, I can deal with it where, it just, I'm going to talk about it, but it won't stop nothing. Yeah. That's how I'm feeling. As you know, I'm still waking up, but by the way, this is a super chat. If you want me to push the super chat, you guys, Jerry, you should donate. You've been bothering us a minute. In addition to the super chat, we do have our GoFundMe going. I think we are at, let me see. Our GoFundMe, we are at 29. Oh, we're at 29,324. 29,324. So I think Jordan wants to get to 30,000, which is not, it's just 626 off. I said 626. I'm sorry. 676. 676 off. $676 off of away from 3,000. You guys are doing great. We appreciate it. Keep it up. If you like this, share it. Contribute to the GoFundMe. You can contribute to, there you go, 676. Hey Jordan, don't try to play with me, player. You know you did that on your calculator. But anyway, so Jordan wants me to talk about this, which a lot of people are talking about. I didn't want to talk about it because I just don't. But progressives prefer Biden to Sanders in the hypothetical 2020 Trump matchup. New polls show. So he was obviously bothered by this. And I think for the simple fact that that they're, for some reason, they're labeling progressives as strong liberals. Yeah, that's not a progressive. Hillary considers herself a strong liberal. She tries to consider herself a progressive, but she's not. But yeah, I guess they had a mock poll speaking on the prospects of 2020 and what people will vote for, obviously. So I don't know how to erase that. Okay. I'm going to see why you guys wasn't able to hear it the last time. That was crazy. So let's see. Because I saw that you wasn't able to hear, which is weird. Transition. Why is the desktop not working now? That's crazy. I just want to see why is it not on. Multi-device. Nope. Sorry, you guys. I'm just trying to check why you guys aren't able to hear the sound on the video. You should be able to hear that. Mic check. I don't know. I can't call it. Oh, it's probably in the settings, something that I have to change in the settings. See if I can change the settings while I'm live. Audio settings. Stereo, Soundflower, that's the desktop. I just did that. So why isn't it working? Okay, I'm not sure why this isn't working. It should work, but the video's not working. So I'll just read the article to you. And it says, progressives prefer Biden to Sanders in hypothetical 2020 Trump matchup. New polls show. This had Jordan furious. So registered voters who say they have strong liberal ideology. I think that's kind of, right there is the crust of it. It's an article. Jordan, please leave me alone. It is a video. It's a video connected to the article, boy. So registered voters who say they have a strong liberal ideology prefer former Vice President Joe Biden to Bernie Sanders. Strong liberal ideology. Okay. There's a lot, like I said, Hillary has a strong liberal ideology. So if that's the case, they obviously didn't, they should have put progressive. Bernie Sanders wing progressive. I bet you. Be specific. It's easy to water something down to get the kind of numbers that you want. It almost sounds like the testing that they did in Flint. In a hypothetical 2020 matchup against President Trump, according to new polls, The Hill Harris X Daily polls conducted December 16th to 17th found that 83% of self-identified progressives prefer Biden compared to 75% who picked Sanders. Rep. Beto O'Rourke was the top chance for 66% liberal respondents. Among the voters, Biden defeated Trump 42% to 36% outside the polls, 3.1% sampling margin of error. Sanders edged the presidency 38% to 37%, and O'Rourke lost 30% to 37%. Biden also fared best among voters who said they lean liberal or moderate. The polls did not measure how other potential Democratic candidates might do in the contest. Name recognition is considered the prominent factor this early in the election cycle. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton was the frontrunner in 2008 before losing the Democratic nomination to President Obama, but establishing credibility and being seen as a first-tier candidate who can appeal to various demographic groups is also vitally important. If there's anyone who appeals to more demographic groups than Bernie Sanders, please let me know. Please. Tell me any other candidate, we always know, any type of Democrat, moderate, or progressive outside of Bernie that appeals to more demographics. Bernie is so cold that he understood that he was lacking a little in the black community, and took steps to kind of build that bridge. You know what I mean? I mean, you please help me understand. There's no other candidate at all, especially whoever considers to be progressive, that appeals to more. Now, if we're talking, I don't know, 50s and 60-year-olds, maybe some, I would say 40, 60, 70% of older black people, and I'm talking, when I say older, I mean 50, 60. I have arguments with my aunts and uncles all the time about Bernie. So I get that. And that's because, they didn't even support Obama until close to 2000 or mid-2008 or beginning 2008. They didn't even support Obama. They was going with Hillary because that's what they knew. They couldn't pronounce his name. They wasn't, for some reason, they were so, I'm not just because he's black. They were probably preoccupied with how white people thought. But they wasn't even supporting Obama. Even after looking at his track record and looking it took a minute. So that's not even a good poll. There are some older black people that hold the fence, but they always hold the fence. Because for some reason they feel like they owe the Clintons something when they don't owe them shit. And that's how young black people know that they don't owe them nothing. Period. So, get back to my story. The real thing that Democrats are going to be debating about this issue of who is the turnout maximizing candidate for the Democrats, who is going to get the base of the party most excited versus who can appeal to the more swingish voter in key states like those industrial Midwest states that the Democrats lost in 2016. Was it Roy Texria, a political analyst with a left-leaning Center for American Progress, said Friday on the Hill TV's What America's Thinking. With the 2020 primaries more than a year away, rival candidates can use that time to chip away at Biden's progressive bona fides. Sanders is likely to be one of Biden's toughest critics if both men decided to pursue the presidency. In 2016, Biden took a veiled swipe at the Vermont senator, saying at an economic conference that America doesn't need socialism. That statement in itself is out of touch. That statement in itself is out of touch. Obviously, Biden doesn't understand what's the largest voting demographic in this nation. Biden doesn't understand that a lot of the populist rhetoric that even Trump was spewing out spelled socialism. So, and obviously he doesn't understand that there was a large amount of Trump voters that if Bernie were the nominee, would have voted for Bernie. And this is before he shamed Amazon into hiring the minimum wage for their workers. This is before everything that he's done, more than the president, more than Hillary Clinton, more than any other person has done socially in this country. Someone that won and lost not the presidency, just the Democratic nomination. He's done more as a former Democratic nominee than the presidential candidate, the president now, 2016 or any other time. Because he actually cares. It's not really about his career. He actually cares. So what he says means something. That's why it doesn't stop because he loses a presidential race. You know what I mean? It doesn't stop then. It continues to go because that's what drives him. That's his passion. You know what I mean? It's a difference. You can tell the difference between someone who's faking it to make it, who's doing it for a minute, who's saying, oh, I'm going to ride this wave, as we saw every time with Hillary Clinton fluctuating from what she believes to who she is on Tuesday to who she is on Wednesday. We saw that to a person like Bernie Sanders, who even after he loses, continues to push his agenda forward, continue to fight for the things that he wants. There's been no other candidate, either Democrat or Republican, that's done that cared so much about their views that even outside of a race, they continue to push forward with the things that they feel that would better this country. So, think about it. Think about it. That's the measures of a man. That's how you know everyone. This is the reason why people said F it. And Wiseau was like, you know what? I ain't voting in, or I'm not voting, or I'm gonna vote for Jill Steiner, I'm gonna do, or I'm gonna write somebody in. It's because they rolled for him so hard because he was a man of value. He wasn't a minute man. It wasn't for him, it wasn't just about a moment. It wasn't about getting into a position. He understood if he got in that position, he can better push forward the agenda that he felt would work best for everyone in the country, not just a small percentage of the country. And so just because he lost, it didn't stop that. He continued to do that. He continued to move forward. And people love that about him. And he's definitely going to ride on that moving into 2020. You know what I mean? And it's going to be good. It's going to be good. I honestly think, though, just my opinion, that if he did run and won, that he would probably just get one term. Because if in 2020 he wins, and let's say somehow we get the Senate, right, in 2020. He's going to push some shit forward that not even the Republicans are going to hate, but Democrats are going to hate. And you know what he's going to do? He's going to shame the hell out of them. He's going to shame the hell out of them. They're going to hate him. And either they're all going to leave, they're all going to get pushed out and voted out, and he's going to do 2 terms, or they're going to conspire against him. His Democrats and Republicans. That's what happened, because it's about doing things that make the country better and working with people. So if you know that you have a small 4-year window to get some things done, or a 2-year window to get some things done, you're going to get some things done. Done. And yeah, we'll see. But, you know, the measures of a man, you measure a man by his actions more than you would his rhetoric. Joe Biden, let's see. Here is Joe Biden shitting on millennials. Jordan just sent me an article of Joe Biden shitting on millennials. This is Newsweek. All right, let's see. Biden doesn't want to hear millennials complain. Interesting. To here. Do. Let's see. Reddit. This is Reddit. Newsweek. Find this article. You know, if you're out of touch, you're out of touch. And, yeah, he's out of touch, man. And that's it. Any person, see, a lot of these politicians, they feel like they've been in the game longer and they know more. Don't you? You don't understand that a facade is a facade. A persona is a persona. A persona only can hold you for so long. There's a difference between being of the people and claiming to be for the people. Bernie's been of the people. Bernie has gone, hold on for a second. Bernie has been out of the public light and unrecognized really his entire political career, you know? I mean, in major news and things like that. You look at Biden, he's been a big public figure dealing with the Supreme Court justice case back in '89, I think. And been around. I became vice president. Ran for president, you know what I mean? So he's had this career. So he's been disconnected for the longest. You know what I mean? That's why he didn't win the presidential nomination. And that's why Barack did. You know why? Because he was connected at that time and no one knew who he was. Because he was connected, he understood what the people wanted. Like, this is exactly why people voted for him. Because he was connected, he had been a community organizer. Like, this is why. This is why. When you're independent in the Senate, you can make things happen. Because you're not in the pockets of anyone. You know what I'm saying? And for some reason, people can't connect those things. Like, the thing that they're trying to say that he doesn't have is the exact same thing that helped Barack Obama win the election. It's being connected. Everything else came after that. But he seemed like one of us. He seemed like a person of the people. He was connected to the ground. He knew how to take you over here and bring us together and have us understand that, look, We're all in this together. What this white poor guy is going through over here, this black guy is going through as well. You know what I'm saying? And just because this white guy isn't going through it doesn't mean that this black guy isn't going through it. You know what I mean? Just he understood that. You know what I'm saying? And he was able to bring these things together because he was a community organizer in Chicago. All those things molded that. You know what I mean? And if people don't see that, then they're crazy. Understood that I think, like I said, a great thing about Bernie is that he understood his lack. And I mean, even just that the gesture of when Black Lives Matter was protesting, he allowed and gave them the mic. I mean, just that in general lets you know how open he is and how in tune he is. And I'm sure he's in tune enough to understand there are certain things that even at the point of his campaign, he probably thought he understood about the plight of black people in America that he really didn't get. I'm sure he did. He does. And if he doesn't, then shame on him. But I'm pretty sure his track record speaks better than any other that I've seen. But let me read this article. It said, Biden doesn't want to hear it, to hear millennials complain. Interesting. Is there a way to hear this?
Right there with Russia. I want to talk about the book, of course, but there's a lot to talk about in the news, and let's just start right there with Russia.
That ain't nothing. Okay. Let's get out of here. Let's just read it. Millennials who think that times are tough in 2018 have no room to complain. According to former Vice President Joe Biden, who said that he had no empathy for young people who compare today to the struggles of the 60s. Wow. See? Look at that. He has no time. Isn't that crazy? You have no time? Now, you have to understand one thing. When people, like earlier, this is why I was saying earlier that I don't want to sound dramatic and try to say that the kid from New Jersey, it felt like a lynching, but I just wanted to say it because what I was saying is that's the image that came to my head. And, but, you know, it's definitely not that. But what Biden doesn't understand is this. If all millennials feel that way, you better start listening. Whether you agree with it or not, you better start listening. Because if you don't have time for them, guess what? They won't have time for you. And if you don't invest in them, guess what? They won't invest in you. The majority of millennials, for their own fault for not doing the proper, being diligent enough to investigate, but also are educational systems that don't really teach what happened in the 60s, in the circumstances around in the climate of our country, that they can water down their experience to what happened in the 60s. But what you can recognize and what you should have recognized, instead of saying that you don't have time for millennials who thinks their struggle compares to the 60s, what's more empathetic and understanding is this. I can get what they're thinking, because every time they turn on the news, they see another black kid being shot and killed by the police, which also happened in the 60s. It also happened in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. And to them, it's still going on. And that part is still going on. There is still systematic racism that was happening in the 60s. Because There's ways we can go through a laundry list of ways you can mirror today to the 60s. The only thing you can probably kind of say is, oh, in some places, it's not as overt as it was in the 60s. That's probably your only argument outside that we have moved forward. But moving forward doesn't mean we've moved past. So don't get it twisted, pimping. Like we're still not in a fucked up situation. Because you're not. Jeremy Chase. We have to kill them. Stop talking stupid bullshit. I don't know. But that's the thing right there, man. Empathy. If let me tell you this. If you're trying to appeal to someone, how can you appeal to someone by slapping them? Tell me that. I'm going to slap you, but I want you to be open and listen to what I got to say. I'm going to talk bad about you. I'm going to talk about how you ain't shit, how your mom ain't shit, and how your daddy ain't shit, but I want you to come vote for me. And that may seem hyperbolical, but that's the truth. If I was on the street and I was somehow, let's say I was a preacher or something, right? And I was somehow trying to bring gang members into the church and like get them to change their lives. And I go into Watts and I start talking to random gang members. And I start talking about how God don't like a sinner and the sinner's going to burn in hell. And you need to come to church and get your life right with God. If they don't shoot me, they're going to dismiss me and like, man, if you don't get the F out my face, dog. Because I'm ridiculing them. But if I came at them, you know what? Hey, God loves you as well, and he understands what you're going through, and he understands your frustrations. Because whatever that person is going through is real. So for you to just dismiss what millennials are going through as if it's not real by saying you ain't got time to hear them, that's like motherfuckers saying that they ain't got time to hear black people when they say, oh, there's still racism. In 2018, I ain't got time to hear that. Desegregation, First Step Act. Come on, man. Come on, man. You're supposed to be a politician. But that lets you know right there you're out of touch. That lets you know right there you're just not in your element, dog. You're not. You're not. The same way as you said, what did he say? That, I think he said Barack was only up in the polls or something because he was an articulate black person back in 2007. Come on, man. He was out of touch then. He's out of touch. Barack was in touch. Barack used social media when no one else had. I'm telling you. Because he had his ear to the ground. I'm telling you. Obviously, as the president, he lost that, but you can't deny what he had in 2008. Jordan is seeing me, I'm on my shit. FI, Biden draft the crime bill. I already know Biden draft the crime bill. He did all that. We already know. I talked about this. Jordan, if you ever watch any of my live streams, you know we've been through the entire history of the criminal justice system and reform, and the Democrats part of that. And Biden said he has no regret. Actually, he said, what did he say? He said he has no regrets about the crime bill because the laws were right but implemented wrong. That's what he said. He said this a couple years ago. Let me see. You weren't born in the 60s. I lived in the 60s in Canada. It was tough. Ty is right. Tough times are tough no matter which generation. That's real. That's real. Tough times is right. The issues faced today is the same issues we faced in 65. We must have economic equality. Exactly. They killed Martin Luther King in 65 because he started talking about income inequality. You got to understand, these arguments that we have, what he can say, what Biden can say is, look, the same arguments that we are having today, they were having in 1965. And that's a problem. Not saying that we haven't moved forward. Yes, we have, but not far enough. Not far enough. Period. Ever since the Civil Rights Act been put in place, they've been doing everything to try to eradicate it, to erase it. Period. Ever since it's been put in place, they then been putting laws in to undermine it. So come on, man. Who are you? Because your running mate was black? Get the fuck out of here. You forgot the reaction of this country? Think the Tea Party was started by patriots? Or people for some reason thought this country belonged to them and only them? And couldn't stand to see a black man in office. And not only people on the street, but people in office who vowed not to let nothing pass, nothing get through the House or the Senate at that time that he tried to push forward. You know? But you can't be surprised by this. The original Tea Party wasn't about us. You know what I mean? The original Tea Party, the settlers said, if we have to pay this extra tax, I think this is like the third tax. They had a sugar tax and another tax, and then it was a tea tax. They said, if we have to pay this tax, this will be relegating us to slaves. That's what was said. That became the propaganda of the day. That became the driving force that pushed forward the Revolutionary War. And they, you know, for sure, they wasn't ignorant people. They understood the hypocrisy in that. But they ignored it. Oh, we don't want to be slaves. But we can have slaves. So come on, man. Ain't nobody stupid. Read between the lines. The Tea Party. Read between the lines. Racist as well as non-racist, no. Racist as well as non-racist was a part of the Tea Party. And racist as well as non-racist understood the underlying meaning to that Tea Party. Period. So just keep it real with yourself. Until you keep it real with yourself, we ain't gonna be able to get through nothing. So that's all I'm trying to do is keep it real with you because I want you to succeed. You can't succeed if I'm over here lying and not being honest with you. You can try to deny it, but I'm not going to deny it. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to call it what it is. You know what I'm saying? I love people. And I love the right thing. You know what I'm saying? And I'm always speak on that, whether it has to do with black people, Hispanic people, white people, LGBTQ people, anybody. What's right is right. And you ain't got to be a scientist to know that. Or a politician. But Ty, he started the tariff war. It is really a tit for tat thing so far. So how do we get past this tit for tat part? Okay, what are you referring to, tariff war? John Quincy Adams supported abolishing slavery based upon the Freemasonry. Yeah. John Quincy Adams, yes. If I'm not mistaken, John Adams, he wrote the, didn't he write the, Not the Constitution, but the Independence. The shit, I can't think of it. Help me out, somebody. Declaration of Independence. Didn't he write that? Yeah, I think John Adams wrote that, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, he wrote that, and he wrote about slavery in it and what we needed to do to abolish Declaration. Yeah, what we needed to do to abolish it. Guess what? He got debated out of the water, and they took it out of the first couple drafts of the Declaration of Independence about addressing slavery. So it is what it is. You know what I mean? You know, the Federalist Papers. Well, who wrote the? Oh, Thomas Jefferson. Okay, hold on. I gotta know my shit. Hold on. Federalist Papers. Oh, shoots. You know what? I'm gonna read this. Honestly, I can only keep it real. George just texted me the Federalist Papers. Read a book. Interesting. So, honestly, to keep it 100, this is my first time actually hearing of the Federalist Papers. But the next time you hear from me, we're going to talk about it because I'm going to read the entire thing. Because, first off, it intrigues me. I like to know about it, especially I like to know about anyone that was going against the status quo back during the 16th and 17th century. Those papers and federal for NAACP vets and Army brats. Yeah, I gotta read it. I don't know about it. But I will, though. The next time we talk, I'm going to know about it. But hopefully without seeing his arms on the road. Stupid. But yeah, so anyway, Biden is a weirdo. He sucks. And he's not going to be, I don't even have to say that he's not going to be president. He won't even be the Democratic nominee. Well, I mean, that if he's not going to, he's not at all. Guaranteed. That's a certain disposition, dog. If you don't understand that, if you don't get that disposition that turns people off, that's the largest voting majority in this country, then you're tripping. You're tripping. Jordan just loves to text me. Don't have to see your arms. Man, let me live, Jordan. Let me live. I'm just working it out. But yeah, let me finish this. So, going back to Newsweek. The youngest generation now tells me how tough things are. Give me a break, said Biden. While speaking to Pat Morrison of the Los Angeles Times to prompt his new book, No, I have no empathy for it. Give me a break. Biden compares the complaints of millennials to what he experienced growing up in the 60s and 70s, mentioning the civil rights and women's liberation movement that were gaining traction simultaneously with the Vietnam War, making the United States a troubling place for young activists at the time. You know what? You know what I wonder? I'm gonna look it up. because I don't know about Biden. But I want to know what he was doing during that time. This Midwest kid. What was going on? What part of the movement did he negotiate? Where was he? What part did he take in it? What was hard for him at the time? Was he on the bus with the students and SNCC? I would like to know, because it sounds like he riding a coattail. So I would like to know how hard it was for him. Because to keep it 100, the white people that were a part of civil rights movement are just white black people having equal rights. Got it hard. They didn't get it hard as black people, but they got it real hard. So it took a lot of heart to back that up. You know what I'm saying? It took a lot of heart to be a part of that. Because it wasn't like, oh, well, they're white. You were almost sometimes hated more because you were a white person. You know what I'm saying? So it took a lot of heart to step in when you didn't have to step in. Think about that. Because as a black person, I can't hide being black. You know what I'm saying? I can't. I walk around. I can't go in a closet and be something else. Pretend, be something else to hide the ridicule. I have to face being black every day. You know what I'm saying? I have to. I don't have a choice. White people had a choice to just live good and be straight and say, you know what? Good. There were some courageous people out there that was like, I'm good, but they not. So if they not, I'm not. That takes a lot of heart. That's the measurements of a person. That's the idea. Those are the ideas of America. But it's always been, you know? And it's always been. It's never been government. I mean, that's all. You got to, you understand our makeup. You know, as potent as slavery is to our makeup, the resistance of its people to do right, to make its government do right, it's also part of our makeup. You know what I'm saying? From the Revolutionary War to civil rights. Or I would say to Black Lives Matter. Has always been to push the country closer to its ideals. That's what it's always been. It's never been government. It's been the people that push the government forward. It's always been. That's a part of our makeup. And that is the one thing that I love about this country. It's the biggest thing. It's the best thing. Is that we always feel we can do better. Even when a third of us may think we're doing fine as is. The majority of us feel, nope, we can do better. And we push those things forward. And people die. People go to jail. But that's their spirits live. You know what I mean? And so, that's what happens. That's what happens, man. Something that we can all appreciate about this country. It's a whole lot of things to get right and correct, but we can appreciate everything good that's happened to this country has only come from the people of this country. The regular people of this country. that at some point agreed that this isn't right. Whatever this is, agreed that this isn't right. Let's see. Where are we? Biden. Let me see what y'all talking about. Ty, is that a drone behind you? Victoria, that is a drone behind me. Yeah, it's a drone. Absolutely. I like to use it. Gaming death is not civil. Adam, sorry. Can't support violence. Apparently he participated in one anti-segregation sit-in. That's all. Yeah, I'm sure that's all what we've been through. That's what I'm talking about, man. That's what I'm talking about, dog. Like, sit down. Just sit down. Period. Because there's some people that died for this. Some people that died for this. And obviously, either you wasn't a part of it, didn't know it, because people that was a part of it, like Harry Belafonte, he'll tell you, yeah, we moved forward, but not fast enough. We still got places to go. I still see things today that I saw in the 60s. And Harry Belafonte was right there. Period. And he voted for Bernie Sanders. He endorsed Bernie Sanders. Period. So, you know, but you know it all. Hey, I can show you better than I can tell you, player. You will see. You will see. You so disconnected. You like old boy in the Bronx that Alexandria Cortez beat, who thought he didn't have to go, who thought it was all good. It was all good just a week ago. If you're not paying attention, you're going to fall, player. That's how it happens. It is what it is. But let me finish this article, though, because he's going to have me going off some more. Let's see. Here's the deal, guys, continued Biden. We decided we were going to change the world, and we did, and we did. Oh, and we did. Interesting. Jesus. And we did. Interesting. Woo! Whether Biden agrees or not, there is evidence to support the idea that millennials, the generation born between the early 80s and the 90s, have inherited a slew of problems that have put them at an economic disadvantage compared to the previous generations. Millennials are most likely to have advanced college degrees, but earn 20% less than baby boomers. When they were in the same age, healthcare, housing, and education are more than 5 times more expensive than they were just a few decades ago. Writer Michael Hobbs tells NPR, student debt has skyrocketed, making home ownership unrealistic for many, reports Bloomberg. And the struggle to advocate for civil rights continues today, as recent movements like Me Too, Black Lives Matter, and hashtag Time's Up Now have demonstrated. Biden stuck with the entitled millennial characterization while speaking on Wednesday, calling on young people to get involved in politics rather than complain. Where in the fuck have you been? Where in the fuck have you been? Get into politics rather than complain? What do you think they're doing? What do you think the incoming house is made up of? Complaining people that's into politics. What are you talking about? That lets you know right there that you're absent. You're just stuck on however you feel about a certain type of person, and then you just spew dumb shit without recognizing what's actually going on. What you're saying is already happening. They are getting into politics. The reason why you know the world knows who Bernie Sanders is because the complaining millennials are into politics. You fool. You need to step back inside your own mind, boy. Shoot. There's an old expression my philosophy professor would always use from Plato, said Biden. The penalty people face for not being involved in politics is being governed by people worse than themselves. It's wide open. Go out and change it. Hey. Case in point. Case and point. You spelled it out. Let me read that again. There is an old expression my philosophy professor would always use from Plato. The penalty people face for not being involved in politics is being governed by people worse than themselves. And that, my friend, is why you will not be president. Because we're involved. We're involved. And we're involved. And if you think we wasn't involved in 2016, we were involved. If Bernie Sanders wasn't treated out the delegates, he would have been president. Remember, he did to Bernie she did to Bernie what she tried to do to Barack in 2008. That's why she held off for so long before she gave up the nomination. So, you tell me. He would be president right now. He just got short-stopped. That's all. And people got frustrated. That's all. But they are involved. If you can't see that, I don't even know why I'm having this conversation. Because if you can't see it, there's no really talking to you, really. There's no talking to you. Because if you don't see it, if that's your declaration, get involved. If you don't see that there's more millennials involved in politics than in any other time in the world, like even in 2008, I'm talking about midterms, boy. Then you ain't paying attention, player. You're not. Period. Period. Guess what? If it was up to liberals to vote in a transgender woman, it wouldn't be the time. Not just yet. Maybe in 4 years. If it was up to moderates to vote in Muslims, not time. Not just yet. Were they sworn in on our Bible? Come on, man. Stop playing games. You think that happened because liberals did it? No, that was progressives. Period. Period. And people rode the wave. So, you know what it is. I feel like this, and this may be a little controversial, but I told my mother this week, and that if Bernie doesn't get the nomination, we may have another 4 years of Trump. Maybe. Because even though there's some people that's like, hey, I don't want to repeat the same thing that happened in 2016. There's some people that's like, F that. And it may be just enough to get him over the threshold, for real. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. You can't stop running water. What's that? What are you referring to? Yep, they do need to remember independents vote too. Absolutely. Yeah. There's no one. Yeah, there's no one we trust. For the majority of people, especially millennials, they're sick and tired. And other people that haven't voted, you got to understand this as well. You're going to have a lot more people, first off, that's never voted in their lives, either due to their age or due to their social standing. Meaning, a lot of people that's been in jail that's now being able to vote, like in Florida, and things like that. A lot of people that are 18 now and will be 18 in 2020. A lot of displaced people from Puerto Rico that couldn't vote for president that now will be able to vote for president. And that these people, for those younger people that see that the politicians are just full of shit and they're lying. And it's a game to them. And it's costing them their lives. They don't want to hear anything else but someone that is genuine. For those people that's been incarcerated, that's had this right taken for so long, they've been manipulated by the system, taken advantage of the system, by the system, put at risk by the system, left to fend for themselves by the system, forced to live a life of crime by the system, forced to go to jail by the system that encouraged them to do crimes. Because of economic inequality, because of lack of resources, funds coming into the community, education. So they've been really fucked by this system. They're discouraged too. And now they have a right to voice their opinion. Now they can actually be heard. They'll be voting. You have displaced people from Puerto Rico who understood what happens when you're not able to vote for a president and how you're valued when the president knows that, well, they can't vote for me anyway. It's a lot of them. Enough to flip a state. So, and they tired of politicians too, because before Trump came in, they were in a debt crisis that was driven by Wall Street and by the powers that be. And a lot had to do with Barack Obama's administration. So, all these people are going to be able to vote. It's a large amount of people. It's a large amount of people. So. Hey, I can show you better than I can tell you. But I think that's it. I'm tired now. I'm not tired. I'm about to actually. I ain't gonna say what I'm about to do. I definitely ain't about to edit. No, I think I'm about to start editing in a few minutes after I get a little more rest because I haven't slept. Because he over here trying to run the slave camp. But anyway, I joke. Y'all know I love Jordy. But I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Got 65 people watching. I think it stayed constant consistent at 65. The more I do it, the better I get. So you guys can hit me up. Let me know if there's some things that you guys want to talk about when I go live. I can kind of look those things up and we can talk about them together. Y'all can email me at tyehefe@gmail.com. tyehefe@gmail.com. She says, hey, Exhausted 11. Hope you're feeling a little better. I am, my neck was hurting this past weekend, though, like for some reason. But I woke up today. I feel okay. Yeah, I appreciate you asking. Hopefully you had a wonderful holiday, Christmas, and everything, So, but yeah, I put my email there if you guys want to have some topics to talk about and debate. We can do that. More things that I'm interested in, though. I do politics. This is a political channel, but I'm interested in history and the effects on the people in this country, whether it's black, Hispanic, Asian, and even whites. Things that you guys want to talk about and debate, and you want to know how I feel about certain things. I would love to do that. Because I look at those things anyway. What's that? I love an update on O'Shea Terry. Okay, I will do that. And both of them John cases. Okay, I'll get that for you. I was actually, one of the articles that I was going to do today actually was about the DA, the departing DA. It just kind of just started ranting. But the departing DA, how she hasn't, I guess there are 2 pending cases on officers that were involved in police killings. Now, if you guys don't know, Texas, and I think it's, Harris County has the worst record in people dying in police custody. They're I think it's 1,000 people a year die in police custody. That's what this article says. 1,000 people, black and white, obviously disproportionately people of color, but black and white people die in police custody in Texas each year. A year after the grand jury indicted 3 Dallas police officers in the death of an unarmed handcuffed man, District Attorney Faith Johnson's office has yet to prosecute the case. And 2 months after Johnson's watched the dash cam video of DeSoto police slamming a mother to the pavement and tasing her son as he lay on the ground, Johnson hasn't opened an investigation. I think now she wants to leave it to the incoming DA. Now, the families at the center of those brutality cases must wait even longer. Johnson, who lost her re-election bid, has decided to let her successor, John Cruzat, like Merlot, Crozo, determine the case's fate when he becomes Dallas County DA in jail. That's so interesting, right? All of a sudden, You want to leave it up to the incoming DA. I don't know if you guys were here when I read the article about a month back, where she said, this is after she lost, so this is about a month back, I guess now, maybe a little month and a half back. She said she hoped that she can stay on the Botham Jean case because it was open when she was in office. You want to stay on that case, but you want to leave these other cases up to your incoming DA? Yeah, get the F out of here, man. Tired of this SHIT and these people, especially her. So the video of Terry's case is clear as day and gut-wrenching. I don't know how much investigation is needed to happen there, but we know how it goes with killers. Yeah, we know how it goes with killers that happen to be police officers, right? I'm interested, actually, who was that? Comrade, to see. I'm going to read up on that as well. I may not be back here till like next week. I want to finalize this documentary so they can put a date on putting it out. But I will let you know. And I will say, though, it's interesting to me as well because the same way they did with Botham Jean when they got the search warrant to go in his house, and then all of a sudden, all over the news, oh, they found marijuana in his house. So what? They found marijuana in his house. What does that have to? What does that have to do with the price of tea in China? And what? Okay. So, but this is what they do. They try to kill the person, and then they kill their character. To try to make it seem like, oh, well, they deserve to die because of, right? So, I say that because the drugs and the gun that was found in the car, that I can see them trying to use this in the case. Obviously, it had nothing to do with the price of tea in China. They didn't know he had all that. He had already told the lady, oh, we've been smoking weed. He didn't reach down for nothing. You saw, if you saw the video, you saw him go to his, turn on the ignition and drive off. And the guy just rode on and started shooting. That's it. That's it. And that's not protocol. And he wasn't on the car. He jumped on the car. So I'm interested in seeing that. That will be it's gonna be heartbreaking, man. It will be, because there's no death penalty and never has been a death penalty for possessing drugs, possessing drugs with a gun, possessing a gun without drugs, or possessing a gun with drugs. Now, you may get some jail time, that goes without saying, but there hasn't been any legislation that says someone must die for doing that. Not at all. So, I'm anxious about that case, actually, So we'll see. We will see in the coming days. Video is clear. Yep. Crystal Muhammad is. She needs to back some fourth estate progress. Appears usually. Okay. Do they do surveys from the public at how much policing is required in the States? They do them in Canada. Do they do surveys? I think so. I think so. I know that we have a census every 10 years. And I think it's based on that they dictate everything. Either policing, funds, plumbing, how infrastructure and everything is kind of dictated by a census that's done every 10 years. Now, what type of policing needs to be done in a community is never based on the actual community. Historically speaking, is more based on the police chiefs, or more based on the police officers, which then tell the police chief, which then tell the mayor. It's never based on what the police tell the police chief, or I'm sorry, it's never based on what the community is telling the police, then the police telling the police chief, and so on and so forth. It's more than anything, we need this because of these neighborhoods, da 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 da. It's not a proactive type of look. It seems like the community doesn't trust us. Maybe if we are walking in the community more, maybe if we got to know the community more, maybe if we started, doing some type of outreach where we're having, football game, a basketball game, something just to bridge the relationship. Maybe we need to start recruiting more people from these communities that have a relationship with the people, because, then at least they'll have their best interests at heart. So, I don't know if that answers your question. Human. Was that Human that asked that? Or who's that? Shirley? Cheryl? I'm sorry, Cheryl. Cheryl, you from Canada? Cheryl Simmons. Okay, in Canada, we base the surveys based on community rather than based on what she's required. Yes. That's great. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Canada is, Canada, right? I've never been to Canada, but it's definitely different from here. I don't know, but a lot of times people be acting like ain't no racism in Canada, and it is. So I reading stories, so it ain't as much, but racism didn't forget about Canada. Shit. And, but I think a lot of the racism is toward like Asians, I think, and Asians like Southeast Asians, and like Southern Asians, like Indians. Tell me if I'm wrong. But that's what I read a lot of the stories that come out of there. But yeah, anyway. Where's that article? Yeah, I think you guys should probably try to read this article. But I will do some work looking up the cases of Botham and O'Shea Terry. Also, give you guys a history. I think it's something to actually think about and consider and look at. When we were doing the documentary on bail reform, we had to find people that were affected by the bail system. So I called a lot of states, different community organizations, and read a lot of articles. And Harris County in Texas was like the worst, large amount of people dying in police custody. Inadequate health care for the convicts, and all of them, I guess, not convicts, because a large amount of people haven't even been through pretrial yet. Still in pretrial 3 years later. So they're sitting in jail unconvicted, So the difference between, like, I don't know if you guys know this, you may know it, but how a person can sit in jail for 3 years. You think about like Khalif Browder, a case like his, and there's a lot of other cases like that. A lot of times what happens here in America is if you can't afford, so the criminal justice system, the bail system, all for the most part targets poor people specifically. I mean, people of color, poor people specifically, poor people of color, right? And so what happens for the most part is these poor people, they can't afford lawyers, representation. So the state provides representation. Now, this court-appointed lawyer, back in the day when I was out there like that, we used to call them pretenders. But the public pretenders, what we would call them, the public defenders, are these court-appointed lawyers that, for one, don't even have the resources for how many people they have to represent because it's hundreds. And there's been a few times where the morning that I had to go to court, like maybe 30 minutes before I was going into court or 10 minutes before, he would be looking at my case, like call me to the side and be looking at my case at that moment. You know what I'm saying? But what they do, and if you don't know the law, if you really don't know, and even if you do know the law, the majority of people that's kind of like brush up with the law a lot, like I used to do back in the day, kind of know the law. But what you don't know a lot of times is what it means to waive your rights to a speedy trial. Because when you waive those rights, they're waived. When you waive those rights, they are waived. And that's how, because I think a speedy trial, I think it's 90 days, either 60 or 90 days that trial has to start. Now, if no one waived their right to a speedy trial, the system will collapse. It will collapse. The judicial system will collapse because they don't have the manpower for that. But they're riding on you waiving your right to a speedy trial, so then they can push it back and push it back and push it back and push it back. So that's kind of why people can be still in pretrial 3 years later, 2 years later, and haven't been convicted of anything. They've been charged, but they haven't been convicted, you know. So Harris County has the largest, I think Harris County and I think St. Louis County has, not St. Louis City, St. Louis County has the largest amount of inmates in custody that hasn't been convicted of a crime. They've been charged but haven't been convicted. Or they're in there for some innocuous ticket that they couldn't pay. And so they're in jail for, I forgot, it's a ridiculous amount that they have to pay towards the fines of not paying a ticket, that they're in jail for so long just paying off the fines. But I think that's something to kind of look into. I think I really want to talk to you guys about that and really see like what's actually going on, because that in itself is slavery. You know what I mean? And if you look at the history of slavery and after Reconstruction, when they had the Black Code and those laws and what the laws that they would do to with convict leasing and leasing, free slaves, leasing them. They would catch them and charge them of a crime that they didn't do, and then lease them to the plantations that needed them after emancipation. All these things that happen, and it definitely mirrors the criminal system right now, especially when you look at counties like St. Louis and Harris. When it comes to this system and the contracts that these states have with these private prisons. It's really daunting when you think about it. Cheryl I was answering the question you asked Ty. Oh, my bad. All right, y'all. Well, I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna get up out of here. It's been real. I love y'all. I miss y'all. Um, definitely. 2019. Once during this next month, probably next month I'll be moving. At the end of next month, I'll probably move, but y'all will be seeing a lot more of me. We're gonna have this documentary finished where I can get it out of my life. Obviously, Jordan doesn't understand. He expected me to just get a full documentary that would take a year to get done, over a year in the span of a month or two, and just I don't know what else to call it. Just slavery. You rock, Ty. I believe and love you. You rock as well. Goof Ray is a Goof Ray OG. Great show, bro. Appreciate you pimping. Peace and love. Love is everything, man. Nice to see you again, Ty. Nice to see you, comrade. I was in New York. Just one thing before I go. I was in New York. What was I in New York? I think it was September. Was it September? Could have been. I think it was September. Beginning of September. And I was at the Apple store. And the guys were helping me. There's like 5 black guys. You could tell that they were all friends. And they were helping me. They all worked there. And they would be talking and laughing. And then after everything, when someone said it, they would say what's up, like everything is love. Love is that. Like it would be this expression, and all of them knew it, and all of them used to say it. And I just thought it was the most amazing thing to see these black men like expressing love towards each other that way. And it was just how they would say it, like everything is love. Love is everything. Love is everything. Love is everything. It would be kind of like what's up, like yo, bro, love is everything. And whatever other ad libs they had, I just thought it was an amazing sight to see. So I appreciate that because it reminded me. I told myself that I was going to start saying that to people, and I am. And I'm going to start off with you guys. Love is everything.